Uh, Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CKT MOOCs. Today, I am Mrs. Rupali Patil, depart belonging to the English department of Changu Kana Thakur Arts, Commerce and Science College, New Panvel Autonomous. Today, we are going to learn the topic which is named as the types of clauses, which is prescribed in the syllabus of TYBA, optional English, uh, in the second semester. So what is clause? Before going to learn types of clauses, the first step is what is clause? So clause is a group of words which contains both subject and a predicator. So without subject and without predicator, the clause is not possible, as clause contain other elements like adverbial, complement and objects. But those are optional, and the obligatory parts are subject and predicator. So clauses, there are different types of clauses as we are having. So one of them is dependent and independent. In another types, there are finite and non-finite clauses. So finite clause, also known as tensed clause. Tensed, it means the clause which contains the tensed verb, means the verb which shows the tense, either present or a past. So finite clause typically contain a verb in the present tense or a past tense form. So it can be main clause or it can be a subordinate clause. The example has been given like Kate broke the dish. So Kate broke the dish. There is only one clause, and which is a main clause. Another example is they suspect that Kate broke the dish. So the same example as we have discussed in the first, Kate broke the dish. In the first, it is functioning as a main clause, but in the second example, it functions as a subordinate clause. The next type is non-finite clause, which is also known as tenseless. So non-finite clause does not contain any present or a past verb. It is usually a subordinate clause. There are three main types. So non-finite clause always functions as a subordinate clause. Very rarely it functions as a main clause. So there are three types of non-finite clauses or non-finite verbs which are being used in a clause, such as Kate didn't mean to break the dish. So to break, where we are unable to identify the tense, it is not present or a past. So it is infinitive clause, which the verb which starts with the to. Second example, Kate remembers breaking the dish. So again, breaking, before ing form of the verb, we used to take the auxiliary, which shows the tense. But in this non-finite clause, we haven't used the verb which shows the tense. So it means it doesn't display any kind of tense. Third example, they will replace the dish broken by Kate. Again, the verb broken, that is participle clause, broken. Before that, we haven't used the have or has, which doesn't explain the tense of the clause. Again, another types of clauses like independent clause and dependent clause. Independent, by name itself, it conveys that it is a main clause, and dependent, which is subordinate clause. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. When we are saying independent clause, it must convey the full thought. For example, I was tired after working all day, so I decided to go to bed early. So there are two clauses, as we know that the verbs, a single verb conveys a single clause. So there are two verbs, which means we are having two clauses. First, the which is bold, in bold form, is a main clause which conveys the full meaning or full concept, full thought. The another, which is started from the so I decided to go to bed, it conveys the thought, but which is not fulfill means which didn't give the full meaning. It must require something else to complete the meaning. So next type part is dependent clause. Dependent means subordinate clause. A dependent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb but does not express a complete thought. For example, the same example we can take here. I was tired after working all days, so I decided to go to bed early. So the sentence or the clause which starts from so I decided go to bed early is a dependent clause, which the meaning, for the sake of meaning, it depends on the main clause. The main clause is I was tired after working all days, and that is the reason I decided to go to bed early. Next, subordinate clauses. As we studied, there are two types, main and subordinate clauses. The subordinate clauses are recognized in part by their function and in part by their internal structure. So subordinate clauses, it functions as one of the element in a main clause. So what is the function? According to the function, it has its different types. So the functions which can be functioned by the subordinate clause such as subject, object, complement and adverbial. So these are the elements of a clauses which can be functioned by subordinate clause. Only one element, that is predicator, which can't be functioned by the subordinate clause, that is only functioned by the verb. The structure of subordinate clause is same. It usually have some marker or other to help indicate their subordinating status. So there are three different identification marking. How to identify whether this particular given clause is subordinate or main clause. So if the given clause is subordinate, you may able to identify with these three types of marking. First, a subordinate conjunction. So whenever the subordinate clause started, it started with the subordinate conjunction. For example, if, when, that. Like the ball that is in pink, I like the most. So that is in pink color can be considered as a subordinate clause. Next marking, that is WH clause element. The word which started with the WH, like what, who, whoever. These are the marking of subordinate clause. For example, the boy who is near the bus stand is my friend. So who is near the bus stand is a subordinate clause which started with the WH word or WH clause element. And the third is non-finite predicator. As we earlier have seen, that non-finite clause always functions as a subordinate clause, like VI, that is the verb is started with the to, VING without auxiliary, or VEN without complete, have or has, as the first verb of their predicator. So in a predicator, they are performing as a main verb, like I go to picnic. So these are the subordinate marking of identification of subordinate clause. So thank you. So we'll meet in a next lecture with the different types of subordinate clauses. Thank you.